listen to it, you can look at the slides. And then it references projects.
I'd rather see numbers than pictures.
Oh, we have lots of numbers. We have numbers.
Can I ask you a question? Is the support of this grant is not locking us in, right? It's just giving you the chance to evaluate some of these things and figure out whether it works for us or not.
And also strengthen the consortium or
Right.
interested party.
Right. But where does this put you, with this grant, if you go and apply for this, where is this gonna put you in the process? How far along is it gonna put you?
In what sense?
In sense, okay, so you're gonna be able then to go out to bid right then? Or you're gonna, where are you gonna be at?
For the lights and things like that?
Yeah.
No, we anticipate it's gonna be a
Right, so
a
where,
lengthy process.
right, so
Yeah.
what will this grant do?
This will fund a couple of people to do the work, to get all the research done, so that opportunities can be
So we can have the answers
presented.
to the questions that Bob
Yes,
has answered. Yeah.
exactly.
If I could just say one thing, which is, I have to explain my uncharacteristic silence, but on questions of energy efficiency. But because Citizens for Local Power is a partner in this project, and would be, either funded to participate in this project, I'd like to recuse myself from the discussion and the vote.
I mean, I feel like, this is how I feel. If I were to vote yes on this for just the support, and it came down later on whether this administration or next administration, that it's not feasible for our town to go LED, I feel like I was super critical. I mean, one minute I'm supporting, next minute they realize our town is not going to be able to make this work. That's the problem I have.
So I think, my question is, and I just want to try to make sure that you're comfortable, Bob, is that we're not committing to any we're not committing financially. This grant is just a support letter so that you go after the grant.
Yes.
To be able to do the evaluation.
Yes.
Of what would it take to set this consortium up?
Right.
And what would the costs be? Would those costs be evaluated with this grant?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There'll be engineering analysis.
And it would only include the towns that are supporting you, or is it going to
No, we
include
want
the
to be
area, regional?
open-ended, yeah,
Okay.
we want to be open-ended. The model that is to the south of us is that, Yonkers and New Rochelle were in the vanguard, but now what they negotiated, others are able to piggyback on it.
So you threw out some numbers I just want to ask you about, $200,000, for instance, from per municipality, you're saying?
That was the Dobbs Ferry story.
And how big is Dobbs Ferry?
I
Compared
meant to
to us?
ask yesterday, I think it's pretty darn small.
Yeah,
Dobbs
just
Ferry.
we're a small town,
Yeah.
so that's why I'm kind of
I
trying to
think
figure out
I can't
what's
say we
compared.
cited them in our rating.
They're small, but I think you're 3 times the population that we are.
Well, what I want to know is, when they say 200,000, does that mean like comparatively we're 100, or comparatively
Yeah.
we're 300? That's what I would like to have an
Right.
understanding of. But
You know what, to me,
then that question is, let's say you just take Dobbs Ferry, so it's $200,000. What is the savings that you get from spending $200,000, and how long does it take you to get that savings back?
I think most estimates are that you're going to save at least 60%, and 80% is not unheard of.
And so how long, so then are you looking for some kind of plan to be able to wrap those costs into monthly payments and
Right,
that kind of
so,
thing?
so different communities go different ways. Dobbs Ferry chose to not finance it. They paid for it. New Rochelle, was
So
presented
they're
with.
they're bonding, or is the government helping to
Yeah,
make this?
no,
the service like
Yeah,
like
they
Central Hudson.
they didn't bond. A lot of communities like doing it off, the main books, so that they have freedom to do other things. But there's a variety of options, and that's what we're going to.
But nothing is up and running. These savings are just speculations of the
No,
possibility.
they're up and running.
They are up and
They
running.
are.
So there should be a place where you can go to see the calculations, the savings.
That's what she's talking about, that money.
I mean, as far as me, as long as there's a notation, I'm here to help you to support it.
Right.
But I wanted to be noted that that does not mean that it would be feasible for our town in the future.
I think everybody would be concerned about what the costs were, what the return on those costs, and, you know, if you get those answers, that would help the town board to make those decisions.
My reading of the letter and the information that's been presented is, if we were to do this, we're essentially saying, yes, the town of Rosendale is interested in improving our efficiency. And it remains an open question based on the findings, if you're able to get the grant, and then pursue it to see whether or not we're able to realize it with this project. We're not promising.
What is the timeframe? When you, like, what is, let's say you do this.
Propose a 2-year period,
Uh-huh.
based on what we've seen other towns need in terms of time.
I don't have any discomfort with that.
I'd like to make a motion that the town board authorizes me to sign a letter of support to allow, what is the name of the company that's doing the application?
Courtney Storm, Inc.
It's not on here somewhere.
And you can submit the application.
Courtney, could you come here a second?
Sure.
I don't see that on here, that yours, I see other, I mean, who
I
are
don't
these
see it
people?
either.
Right, well, that's the president of NYSERDA who's receiving the information, plus the president or the chairman of the Hudson, so that's what.
I don't see anything in here where you're not mentioned, your company's not mentioned.
Okay, I'll have to, right next
Sorry.
It is in the abstract that goes with it, so there's
The
a two.
abstract that goes with it.
Yeah, so, we supplied an abstract, which I can give you, which begins.
Oh, this one?
It says abstract at the top. Just like this.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it spells it like that.
Well, it would have been, I think it would have been smarter to put that in
Sure.
the letter.
Sure,
But,
yeah, you can do that.
well, I'm gonna sign the letter for you
In
tonight.
this letter, right?
The letter that you guys drafted to, it would have been, make more sense to give you.
Which would be this one right here.
Uh-huh,
Let me just-
right. Yeah.
You know, it's pretty sad nowadays, whenever you do something like this, you almost need to turn you into a fund.
Right. Yeah.
You guys have all read this letter. Are you comfortable with that saying that this is to support her application? It doesn't really say that on here.
Okay.
I mean, do you see what I'm saying? That's kind
Yes.
of missing, that
Right.
it should be saying something about you're doing the application and that we're supporting your application.
Once again, we're not
How about-
legal counsel, so I don't know.
But she's doing it on behalf of the Mid-Hudson Municipal.
Who's doing it on behalf of-
Right, so
And that's
So
what
you're,
it's
so
for.
you're being
Private
hired by the
company.
consortium, is that what you're, or
Are
that?
you the team of three? I mean, we're
I-
doing it, we're supporting the team
The
of three,
team of
CLPU and the
Correct.
That's what
funding,
it is.
which is known together as
It's
the,
an abstract, but it's not a letter.
It's the Mid-Hudson LED Consortium.
Okay, so
Yes.
this is on, so that's stated here, so, okay, I think that's fine.
okay,
then.
good.
All right, I'll make a motion to sign the, letter of support for the Mid-Hudson Municipal LED Street Light Consortium to apply for a NYSERDA grant.
Oh, I would second that.
Thank you. Roll call, Councilman Hayes?
Yes.
Councilwoman Huntsville?
She's refusing herself.
What's up?
Councilman Krasovsky?
Yes?
Councilman Ryan?
Yes, with the notation that that does not mean it's feasible for us in the future.
Yes. I'm gonna sign the letter right now and hand it to you,
Well, thank you so much.
because I have a,
I need that notarized.
does she need two, because it's two?
And then,
No, it's fine the way it is.
You sure? Because I
Yeah.
wrote a copy here.
No, that's the way everybody else has done
She
it.
can sign the, okay, you don't need a town seal or anything. I'm sorry I don't have an envelope.
Oh, that's right. Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Well,
Thank you so
very
much.
I'll keep you apprised.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing.
Okay.
That was a tough one, not bad.
That was cool.
I saw you switching over there, I was telling you.
You look like Kenny on South Park.
All right, next on the agenda is the Rosendale Street Festival site plan. And Billy, I know you had made some changes. Why don't you
I
just
think I
brief
tried
us
to-
on those so we don't
I
have to
tried
go?
to italicize and underline them.
Huh?
I tried to italicize
You,
and underline.
I saw that, that was very
Two changes
nice.
that come to my mind.
Made my
One is
life-
That's a great thing, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I noticed that you moved the Midtown stage to the Bruderhoff driveway.
No, Brandhopper, not
Brandhopper.
Yeah, yeah.
The only thing I was gonna say, Billy, did you get something in writing from him that you're gonna move the stage there?
We've had personal discussion with him, and he's
Yeah.
thrilled to have it there.
I'm sure.
We do make him as additional showrunner policy in case anything happens there.
Okay.
And the other one is, one other one is that parking pass are also available, transit dance and drum. And a third one is we have secured lights for the pedestrians crossing Route 32 to go to the Peacock's parking area. We have secured construction type lights. That was one of Perry's requests from last year. And we will have a certified flag person there to be a
cross
crossing
people.
guard.
Good idea.
I have a question, Commander Ligon. Those construction lights, are they horizontal lighting that could blind you or the driver, or are they downcast lighting?
I think that they go up and you can aim them whichever way you want. I think we're gonna have to direct them down.
Right.
They may be positioned out with a light, like maybe a 20-foot wide part of the roadway,
Right.
but they're not gonna be glaring, blinding people, and
Okay.
the rest of the trouble then.
You're talking about the construction lane?
Yeah.
I think maybe you might wanna do a test night, see if, see that it's not a hazard.
I think they get delivered,
If Perry's recommending, he's probably already coming back.
I think they get picked up Friday night before the festival, so we can maybe give them a test run then.
I gotta say one thing.
It's real
You
quick.
set the bar
We
when
said
it,
one thing.
when it comes to doing a site plan, you do a beautiful
He's the
job.
king. He's the king
You
of
really
site
ought to
plans.
give classes on this. This is excellent.
Well, it's
Bob
been
Kelly
a lot of years of
Yeah.
refining it, right, Bill?
I said, Bob Gelli used to find one place where I didn't change the date.
Yeah.
It's
We
wonderful.
found that
Billy,
last time.
Yeah.
You anticipate, it says you're in the process of securing the parking areas, but you anticipate we'll get all of these parking areas? Or do you need them, or do you let?
We've had no responses back saying no. So I'm accepting a double negative. No, no equals yes.
Have you had anyone say yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Who said yes? The
for-
town, I hope?
The former Wilson School, Bloomington Fire Department, and the town properties. What other ones are out there?
First Brookside.
Brookside, we haven't heard back, but in years past, we've sent the letters and have never had, positive or negative response. So I'm interpreting it as, unless they say no, it's a yes.
We had talked about making sure that there was adequate parking for police here at the municipal center.
Yes, that should be in there from probably
It is.
maybe from the June version.
Okay.
That we're gonna have
I
some
saw it.
phoned
I
off.
think I saw it.
I'd also like to ask you to just contact Ulster Green ARC, just so they're aware that the parking lot is gonna be busy on that date.
Usually we send it to Brookside School.
No, because they are now in this building too.
Okay.
And not that I think there's gonna be a problem, it's not during their normal working hours, but just wanna have, just as.
I think that Mike
courtesy.
Margot, he works through his day job with UARC, and he was our liaison to UARC.
You could talk to Lori Gallagher, she's now running the program over there. like to make a motion to accept the final site plan for 2015 for the Rosendale Street Festival.
I'll second.
Zach?
I quit. My kid had it, she was quiet for 6 minutes.
Conditional on any of those matters?
Bill, if you could just get us a letter from Mark saying that he's agreed to you having the change of venue. And you have gotten something from, just remind me, did you get your letters from the fire marshal and?
He reviewed it, and all of our food vendors currently have fire extinguishers in their premises. But I have spoken with Dave, and we're gonna be more specific next year, 20-pound ABC extinguishers. Right now, you say they have to have some of fire extinguisher at their facility, but I have a conversation with Dave. We volunteered to say 20-pound ABC, and he was happy with that.
So
He was also happy that we referred it to me after 30 years or whatever.
so we just need a, so you're, do we get anything from, I don't see anything from Perry in here either.
I have an email from Dave, but I can ask him to do something.
Yeah, no, email's fine, just something from Dave Massimi,
Mark.
Mark, and I would say Perry, or Sergeant Shaffrick, either one.
Perry already gave us.
You gave us something? All right, I take that back.
That's all.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he had those recommendations, which you put in there, right?
But we needed the letter of approval for the DOT permit 33B.
Right. So did you get that?
Yes. Probably at the same time.
It says here you'll make initial contact with Terrence Donahue, but it doesn't say that you got it.
Well, he has the application, and we're just waiting for the certificate of insurance naming New York State Department of Transportation.
All right.
Any municipality through which the event operates, blah, 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 down to anybody who works for the event. It's about a 5-sentence clause. And that should be probably, if today's Wednesday, we have that by Friday. So have all the certificate of insurance by Friday.
So I'm going to make a conditional approval that you get the letters we just mentioned, and that you get your DOT approval,
Yes.
and yours, and.
Not for approval on things that are pending. That is, Councilwoman Metzger wants to second it again.
I'll re-second.
Roll vote, Councilman Hughes?
Yes.
Councilman Metzger?
Yes.
Councilman Krasinski?
Yes.
Councilman Ryan?
Yes, and thank you for all your hard work you do every year.
Welcome down, we'll put you to work.
Supervisor Lush?
Yes. Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome, I'm sure.
And Peter, thank you. Keep an eye on him.
Next thing on the agenda, we have the long-awaited chicken code. I'm not encouraging that. And I'd like to set a public hearing for, what is it, August 12th is our next meeting? Just have to calendar,
It's,
whatever.
Oh.
It is,
Yeah,
Wait.
August,
It's the second Wednesday.
well, yes.
I'd like to set a public hearing for August 12th at 7 o'clock to review local law, whatever. Maybe one, but we can't call it one yet. Adding a new section 75.8 to the town code to provide regulations for keeping chickens in R1, R2, R3A, and A1 zoning districts.
Question before
Sure.
moving on. There are some, how much can we negotiate before implementing the street? Right now it's set up with special, requiring a special permit and notice from property owners.
Well, some of that stuff was based on other comments and things that were coming from the public. So during the public hearing, he change if the board wants to, if the public makes suggestions or comments that maybe we hadn't thought of, or, that they could be a better way to do something.
And
Could you
previous,
project a little bit?
sorry, previous comments and suggestions that have been
The planning.
internal to the town.
Yeah, that's what this was
have
drafted.
been taken into consideration.
Yeah, mostly the environmental commission and the planning board made comments. And
So-
and the building department, they had a lot of input too.
So if I could just say a few things. So, the environmental commission drafted backyard chicken code several years ago with input from, it was a long process. Billy Ligon was part of that process, intimately involved, came to all of our meetings. We consulted with the planning board, the planner, town planner had reviewed it, and given input, and we incorporated that. The ZBA had given input, the building department gave input, and it was a lot of work. And when I chaired the environmental commission, presented it to the board in 2012, I think, right?
I was at a couple of those meetings
December
myself.
2012. It is now significantly different.
I wouldn't say significant, there's some changes.
Well, there's some major substantive changes. to
Well,
it.
here's my question.
And so, can I
Let
just
him finish. Okay.
So, I would suggest we might want to remove in the fifth whereas. This isn't, it says the Rosendale Environmental Commission submits the following proposed changes, but we hadn't proposed. I went through it
Yeah.
and, presented and, outlined in red. It wasn't track changes. I actually didn't realize how many changes there were, because only one change had been tracked change until I, compared it this morning. But there are a lot of changes, and I think that should probably be removed, as it's not an accurate reflection.
Well, we can talk about that, that, you've made a comment now, and I would say, make that comment at the time, before we finish draft, before it's finalized, if you want that removed, and the board can decide to do that.
Remove from the final law.
Yeah, it's fine, we can,
What did you say, Chris?
I was just clarifying that it would be removed from the final law upon adoption if the board agreed.
I could run it by Mary Lou now, tomorrow, see what she says about it. I understand what you're saying. I don't want to put it off another month,
Right, and I know I started out at a low tone. This has been a long process involving a lot of people, and just this was our public/internal review of who said what when, and is everything showing up now in this draft.
Here's my question. I know for a fact there's been a lot of people with chickens that have been under the gun. In other
Wire.
words,
Under the one.
Or
Under the
radar.
Radar.
Well,
right?
didn't request permission, didn't ask their neighbors, just came in and got them. Nobody is grandfathered once this is in, right?
I don't know about that, I'd have to ask her.
Because that would be the thing. I
There
don't,
have been cases that went before the ZBA, and so
Those would be.
I don't want to seem like a monster, but I know about 4 cases where people have got chickens and they live in close proximity of their neighbors. They may like the chickens, but what about the poor neighbors? I really don't think that anybody should be grandfathered in because they had it before.
We have to go by
So we
whatever the law says, we can't really
Right.
say that that's,
Right.
I don't know that answer, Bob.
Right,
I
and I-
understand your point, but I don't know what that is. I just would be speculating, I would ask our attorney that question.
Right. And I also think if we can discuss the whole code now and decide whether we want to notice it, or else we should hold a discussion until after the public hearing about what our views are.
Well, I will say that there are some changes, and the changes that were made were based on many of the people that, I know you say that you had a collaborative effort, but some of those people that have been on other commissions and boards have spoken to me about the first draft and did not like that the neighbors were not being considered enough. So this is why some of those changes were put into place. Because, you know, one of the reasons this kept getting put off was because how are we supposed to deal with a person who's, you know, wants chickens, and we want to make it so they can have chickens? That's part of the reason you're doing this, but the other part is to be able to protect the people that live next door to the person putting the chickens in.
That's what my
So,
concern is.
you know, this is why we thought, you know, a site plan might be able to give the person a chance to, you know, address all those things, make sure that a person, you know, you're not putting chicken coop next door to somebody's Labrador Retriever who now becomes the evil dog that's barking. Instead of having a rooster and making noise, we now have a dog making noise. And so this is some of those things I think has to be addressed when a person puts an application in and wants to have chickens in the yard. And I think you did a great job in evaluating a lot of the things that needed to be done, but I felt there were some missing pieces, and a lot of that came from public or private conversations I had with people in other boards and commissions. I felt there needed to be a little bit more protection for the neighbors.
Well, I mean, I would say that that's the point of a public hearing, is to get the input.
I mean, the
I
neighbors
agree.
are the priority concern. I mean, one person wants to have chickens, but you gotta look outside the box here. And what are the concerns of this neighbor, that neighbor, the smell, the odor, the blah, blah, blah. It goes on the noise.
And, well, you know, some of these changes were based on our attorney's recommendations too. This had been done before an attorney. And, you know, we have to look at what's gonna hold up in the law too.
What are some of the big changes that are a concern?
I feel like I kind of kicked this off,
Yeah.
and so I feel a little bit responsible to if everything, it's going before the public, it's gone before all the various boards previously. I do believe that Mary would have chimed in on behalf of the building department back in the day, but didn't necessarily, I don't know that she looked at the final. Everything's on the table, everything's going to be in front of the public. I'm very happy that we're here. I just wanted to kind of revisit how we got here and what is or isn't in this draft.
I mean, I will have her at this next, you know, at our meeting for the public comments, and, you know, nothing is set in stone because public opinion can change how this goes.
I still think I missed something.
Can I finish what I'm saying?
I interrupted you, but I apologize.
But I think it's important to try to make sure that we're covering all those bases. And I did have some lengthy conversations with code enforcement, people on planning boards and zoning boards who felt that, you know, this first draft was leaving out this, how do we make sure the neighbors are protected too? And I think that the code enforcement has dealt with this so much since this first draft came out that some other things were coming up that didn't come up the first time, when this was first time. I don't know. I wasn't in on the conversations, except that I sat down with them on this, and this is part of what they want to see changes, you know. And, you know, some of the way this other stuff was worded, it was confusing. And so some of these changes were based on our attorneys saying you have to have it worded so that it made more sense to the law, you know, so they can enforce it. So that was changed. So I don't know exactly which changes you're looking at that you're concerned about.
I mean, if you want, I can go through them, or we can.
If you want to go through them, we can.
One big change was to, and again, you know, we'll hear from in the public hearing, for people that are in A districts that have chickens, we had that roosters were not permitted in any zones other than the ag districts.
Yep.
So now it's no longer permitted in any district. That's it.
No, ag districts are exempt from this. That's why that was taken out of there. Because you don't have to say that you're exempt from, if you're an agricultural district, you can have roosters and you can have chickens. And you do not have to follow this code. This code is not for that. A district does not mean you're ag. That means A1 and A1 are just zoning. Ag district district is a different thing. That means you have an agricultural district. That means you've been approved to be an agricultural property. So, is that what you meant?
I thought that A was zone
No.
agricultural.
No, it doesn't necessarily mean, it's not the same thing.
There's an extra step that I know a neighbor of mine went through to get certified.
You
Yeah,
have to be
no,
an
I know
ag-
there's an ag district in town, and that.
So you
go
could have
through
an A
those steps.
district that's really a residential, this is why that got
Right.
changed. So if you live in an A district, but you live in a neighborhood, you would want that to be following the same thing, because now you're talking
Well, that
about
makes-
it.
yeah,
So that's
makes
why
sense.
that was changed.
Okay, that makes sense. And I think the current codes are, it says, it just didn't speak at all to the special, to permitting for our district, so that was,
What do you mean?
that was the original code, and that's.
Yeah,
what
and,
this
and
code
Mary
is,
Lou
right.
pointed out that there was a, something left out of there, that it wasn't, that's not the way we can do it. You have to consider that even though someone's an A or an A1 district, doesn't mean that they're an agricultural district. So that's why that was changed.
Okay, and section B, now, we had actually, left out the question of enforcement, because we had been talking about, or permitting, we've been talking about a building permit, that's what we've been looking into.
Well, the old
But,
code, that's all it has, is a building, basically, it's about the food.
Well, there's a special use permit requirement now, which there hadn't been. And there's an additional requirement that all property owners, all adjacent property owners provide written consent to permit.
approve it.
Yeah, which,
And that was for the reason that we just talked about. That was the biggest pushback I got from the public and anyone I talked to about having chickens. Was, I don't want chickens in my next door, in my yard, if I'm gonna be in trouble, because I have my own pets in the backyard next to them, and now they build chickens. So I think if you have something saying, maybe that'll get taken out, but that was something that,
I'm just
how do you,
saying-
how do you address that? How do you address that?
I remember
That's the
the
question.
zoning board wrestled
Right.
with that too, how you notice.
right,
neighbors.
and again, I would
But-
just say, that's why we put it before a public hearing, and,
Right.
And
this
your
is how things
property
would
that's
change.
adjacent to that property,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
I mean, you're
I'm
asking,
not-
you're
I'm not
asking to
dis-
be able to.
All of this could be discussed, I'm just
Yeah.
telling,
Right.
I'm just
No,
going
I'm just
over
telling you,
what
that's
the
why,
changes
that's why
are.
it was brought up, and that's why it was added in there, is that if you, how else can we, the question is, how can we be sure that you're not as saying, like, the building department gets an application, let's say, if it was just that way, you wanna put a chicken coop back there, never consider looking at the neighbors. That's why you have site plans, or special use permits, so that you can have the